Welcome to this Eriksholm Update video. We're very lucky in Denmark today that we actually have a very strong hearing science community in academia. This wasn't always the case, but in the early 2000s it was looking a little bleak. However, we were very lucky in the early 2000s and we actually brought in a very talented young German professor at the time, who is actually going to be my next guest, Professor Torsten Dau at the Hearing Systems Group at the Technical University of Denmark. Welcome, Torsten. Fantastic you could join us today. You've come an incredible way since you started back in 2003 or 4, where you had a very small group at the time, and now you have this huge team in the Hearing Systems Group. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that journey and also about how your research interest has sort of changed and developed over the years as a result of that.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's a very interesting point. Indeed, when I came, I was essentially alone, but due to this grant or this CAHR center, there was of course some opportunity, some funding for establish a research group. So I could hire some postdocs and some PhD students to build up the lab, to also establish the first courses. So the first years were of course intense, and we didn't have any lab beforehand. There weren't courses. There was one particular course on hearing science, otherwise not much. So there were many tasks establishing, so to speak, this environment over there. We started slowly. We started as a very small group. And we also in the first years we focused on those areas I of course was most familiar with and competent within, namely auditory modeling and also hearing science, mostly within the normal hearing, people with normal hearing, because there are also challenges. We still don't understand all aspects of that. But then with time, naturally, logically, we extended our focus, our activity area, our research, mostly towards hearing loss, of course, understanding consequence of hearing impairment, working with algorithms, new algorithms, understanding hearing technology better. Then we, so to speak, even though within the CAHR Center, the focus was mostly on hearing aids and applied aspects of hearing science, we then moved on and also explored more fundamental aspects like neuroscience aspects. We later on then had the opportunity through a big grant from the Oticon Foundation, William Deman Foundation, the CHESS Center for Hearing and Speech Sciences, to also understand and study neural signatures of hearing loss, consequences for perception, but also how hearing loss is represented throughout the hearing system and read out by EEG signals, for example. So that opened the avenue towards auditory neuroscience, which was exciting. On top of that, I would like to emphasize that also, for example, the CHESS Center triggered DTU also to invest in infrastructure, which had enormous impact.
It's hugely impressive facilities that you have.
Yes, we have, for example, this audiovisual immersion lab, which we could establish because we had the support from the foundation, because we did fundamental research, but which was supported directly also by DTU because they invested in infrastructure, and we could establish this audiovisual immersion lab, which allowed us to study also communication, which allowed us to go really beyond. We established our also EEG laboratory, so that was incredibly valuable and had huge impact whenever we invited guests, professors, but also students. This was always has been fascinating for people to see the facilities also.
But you've also been hugely successful over the years with establishing fantastic research partnerships, for example, with Harvard Medical School and other places around the world on some quite fundamental aspects as well, haven't you? So
that's also an interesting aspect of the whole collaboration. So we started with more traditional, classical hearing technology related and hearing science aspects. But we also discussed more and more, and even now we have this Center for Auditory Neuroscience established a few years ago, which allows us also to again invest in detail or investigate in detail fundamentals of hearing loss.
Yep.
So what's actually the reason for the huge variability in outcomes,
Yep.
which we struggle with, which challenge us, also in connection to hearing technology, also otherwise. There's a huge variability, and this has partially to do with the heterogeneity of hearing loss. And of course, as long as we, for example, also work with human people, we don't know exactly the source of the problem in the inner ear where it starts, but also throughout the system. And we have now, through also collaboration with experts at Harvard, for example, Charlie Lieberman and others, the opportunity in this Center for Auditory Neuroscience to really study the ground truth, to really study the links between the source of a biological
Yep.
challenge
With the actual human consequence.
with the actual perceptual aspect, which is in the end, of course, crucial to understand, because we want to help people with hearing loss, and we would like to characterize their individual challenges, and we would like to understand, of course, where it comes from, because this will help us to find the best compensation strategies.
Absolutely.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, the research that comes out of your group has been fantastic over the years, and we've definitely benefited from interaction on that. But we've also hugely benefited from some of the amazing people that you've trained over the years. So Oticon has a huge number of people that have been either on masters, PhDs, or even postdocs with your lab. That must have been pretty bittersweet for you, because I guess you see your great people, they leave, they come to us. I hope you can, has there been any benefit to you that you see in that kind of that situation, or just too bitter? I don't know.
No, indeed huge. The benefit is huge. And yes, it is correct, but of course, when we educate people throughout their master's degree, and then typically also we have educated many PhD students. This is a longer journey. We educate them, they grow, they are excellent. I think in the end they have so much to offer, and of course it hurts sometimes to lose all these talents. But what do we mean by lose? So. Many of those are now in industry, actually are hired, for example, by you, and in a way it's also
or even me.
Yes.
So I used to work with you. So.
Yes, exactly. No, I must say, overall, I can see I've learned also over the years how important this aspect of impact is. So in the beginning, I thought, okay, we would like to establish such a center. We need to build up a good reputation in terms of the science we produce, and we are recognized, that's fine. But I thought the main focus is to speak this impact in terms of publications and so forth, and reach out in that point. However, what I can see and also understand is that an even probably more important aspect is to educate these people, who then contribute tremendously to the work in industry, and often we can even continue this collaboration later on. So I think it has been enormously also satisfying in the end, even though sometimes, of course, personally and professionally, it is challenging to lose, so to speak.
Painful in the moment.
In that moment, it can be painful, but overall, it's fantastic. And this is also, I must say, this model we have here in Denmark. I mean, in particular, Oticon, but we have also WSA and GN Reson, that they go together in some of these activities and support together, even though despite their competition. Such pre-competitive research is incredible. So I don't see this anywhere else. So for me, that time I didn't fully understand when I came, okay, how valuable this would be. I was, of course, excited and curious about it, but it's incredible. And even DTU again and again values this highly. So this is really fantastic. And I can also see that the format itself attracts simply the young people also to be part of that, and attracts researchers from abroad to become linked to it. And so this ecosystem, or this, I think it's a hearing hub-like construction, which actually lives because it's active. So that's really fascinating.
Okay, thank you very, very much for your time, Torsten. It's been a pleasure to have you here, as always.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
We work very closely with the Hearing Systems group at the Technical University of Denmark, led by Torsten Dau. Where we can, we actually like to embed some of our scientists in Eriksholm within the university to sort of directly collaborate, co-supervise students, and be part of that academic environment. My next guest is Lars Bramsløw. He's a Principal Scientist here at Eriksholm, and he's been working for many, many years in collaboration with the Hearing Systems group. Welcome, Lars. What kind of interactions have you had with Torsten and his team over the years? And from your opinion, what is the benefit to scientists in Eriksholm to that kind of close collaboration with the university department?
Well, here at Eriksholm we do research that in some cases will end up in products. So on a scale you could say we are more applied than what's happening at universities, and that's exactly where we want to be. So of course it's important for us to be informed of all the work that goes on at the universities and in particular the Hearing Systems group, and it's important for us to learn as much as we can and transfer that knowledge into more applied projects, applied research, products, etc.
Yeah. So, I mean, what has been the kind of interactions you've been having? Has it been teaching? Has it been supervision?
I would say it's probably been all of the above. I've been involved in specific projects that fitted to my research interests. I've been examining as an external examiner on both courses and on master's and PhD projects. And of course I also enjoy the seminars that take place there on a regular basis. So I try to interact as much as I can. And it gives me the opportunity to get new knowledge, which is leading edge, if you will, beyond what I can absorb myself in my everyday work. Yeah.
So how has your research interest then over the years been developed as a result of your exposure to Torsten and his team?
Sometimes it's given me an insight into entirely new aspects that I hadn't thought of, such as, let's say, turn-taking between conversation partners, just to name an example. Other times it's been building on knowledge I had already, but where I wanted to go further and where the projects would actually stimulate me and learn me more, teach me more about, for instance, auditory modeling. That is one example.
So Lars, then how has your sort of research interest been sort of influenced or impacted by the work that goes on in Torsten's team?
Well, I've always had an interest in auditory modeling and how we can apply auditory models in our research and how we can eventually use them to provide better solutions for the hearing impaired. And the modeling work that's being done at DTU is more basic and often quite nitty-gritty compared to what we do. And that's important sort of to challenge oneself to learn more about the insights of the model and also to try to influence the research. That was the other part of the interaction, I think, was to say, let's see if we can make it more applied. How do we model particular hearing losses in particular individuals, for instance? That's an insight that I think we've created together.
Fantastic. So then how has that then led the latest developments in your own research that's happening here in Eriksholm?
Well, from learning about applying auditory models, for instance, we got the idea that we could actually apply a hearing model with a hearing loss and use that to compensate for the hearing loss with a deep neural network in front of the impaired model, compare that to a normal hearing model, and use that difference to train a network to essentially come up with entirely new ways of hearing loss compensation.
So really taking these very advanced models of hearing loss that's been developed in the university and then saying, can we bolt on in front of that some kind of technology that can basically support an individual hearing loss?
Yes. Yeah, it's a brute force idea, but it's actually because we have the computational models, we can do that on a brute force way.
Super. Well, thank you very much, Lars. That was very interesting.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for your attention. As always, if there's a topic that you would like to hear more about, something you've seen on our website, for instance, please reach out to us. We'll be very happy to try and accommodate. And with that, hopefully see you later this year.